By now, you've learned how to use grounding and relaxation techniques to gain more control over your anxiety. These tools will help you regain a sense of calm in the moment. But now, it's time to address what often fuels anxiety beneath the surface: our thought patterns. Negative thought patterns can feel like an invisible force shaping the way we see the world, ourselves, and our ability to cope. They influence how we interpret events, sometimes turning everyday challenges into overwhelming fears. The first step to changing these patterns is recognizing them. Now, I understand this can be the most difficult part of the course for some. Often, our minds are crowded by many negative thoughts, and just the idea of sitting with them can feel terrifying. I get it, I've been there. This course wasn't designed to be easy. Many of the lessons are very difficult, but I promise, through this process, you will begin to see results that will change the course of your life. After all, iron is forged in the fire. Negative thought patterns, also known as cognitive distortions, are ways our brain distorts reality. They can sneak into our thinking so subtly that we don't even notice them. Sometimes we catch ourselves thinking something like, "I'll never be good enough," or "everything always goes wrong for me." These are examples of distorted thoughts that can intensify feelings of anxiety. Let's break down some of the most common cognitive distortions. Number one, catastrophizing. This is when our mind jumps to the worst case scenario, even if it's unlikely. For example, if you're running late to a meeting, you might think, "I'm going to get fired." Next is black and white thinking, seeing situations as all good or all bad with no middle ground. For instance, thinking, "If I make a mistake, I'm a total failure." Next would be overgeneralization, taking one negative experience and assuming it applies to everything. For example, "I messed up once, so I'll mess up every time." Mind reading, assuming you know what others are thinking about you. Like, "They must think I'm incompetent because I stumbled over my words." The fifth one we'll discuss is personalization, blaming yourself for things outside of your control. For instance, "It's my fault my friend is upset, even though they didn't say so." Recognizing these patterns isn't about blaming yourself for having them. It's about shining a light on the habits that keep you stuck. These distortions are learned over time, often as a way to protect ourselves from perceived threats. But when they go unchecked, they create unnecessary fear and can hold us back. How do you start noticing these patterns in your own thinking? The key is mindfulness. Start paying attention to your inner dialogue, especially in moments when you feel anxious. Write down the thoughts running through your mind. Are they realistic or are they distorted? Keep a journal to track these thoughts and look for reoccurring patterns. For example, let's say you're worried about a presentation. You might jot down, "I'm going to mess up and everyone will think I'm terrible at my job." When you review this later, you might recognize that this thought reflects catastrophizing and mind reading. The simple act of identifying these distortions is empowering. It creates a moment of separation between you and the thought, giving you the space to question it. Over time, you'll begin to see these patterns for what they are: automatic habits, not unchangeable truths. In the next lesson, we'll take this a step further and learn techniques to challenge and reframe these thoughts. Remember, recognizing your thought patterns is the foundation of cognitive restructuring. Each time you catch a distortion, you're building the awareness needed to change your relationship with anxiety. Take a moment today to jot down one or two thoughts that cause you to have anxiety recently. Identify the distortion behind them. This small step will give you a new perspective and pave the way for the work we'll do in the next lesson. You've got this, and I'll see you there.